What's going on, you guys? Welcome back to Troutfish Aquatics. Today we're going to be talking about the use of activated carbon in your aquarium. Alright guys, so activated carbon. Activated carbon is something that is widely discussed between aquarists throughout the entire community on if you need it, if you don't need it. And that's definitely something I want to talk to you guys so you guys can figure out if you want to use it or if you don't want to use it. Either way, it works out great. But this video is just to help you guys make a decision on whether you want to or don't want to use it. So there is a widespread belief by many new aquarists that activated carbon has to be used in a filter at all times. And the reason for that is because if the manufacturer put it in the filter when I bought it, that means I have to run it all the time. And that's not necessarily the case. They just put it in there because it's a way for them to make more money because you think that you need to continuously use it. And that's not necessarily true. But a lot of people swear by carbon and some people don't use it at all, you know, unless there's a special occasion. And it does help to polish the water a little bit and really make it nice and clear for you. And it does remove odors, so if your aquarium starts smelling a little bit, you can throw some carbon in there, it'll take that odor out for you. But it does have a very short lifespan, and the fact on if you actually need to use it is heavily debated across the entire community. So all of these things we're going to talk about in this video. So I just want to show you real quick a couple different ways that you can get carbon and what it looks like. So most of the time, if you're going to go out to a store and purchase carbon, you're going to get it in a container like this. It could be bigger, smaller, it could be in a cardboard container, doesn't matter. This is pretty much what you're getting, little black stuff. Now there is zeolite in this as well. This is a carbon zeolite mix. So all the little blue stones you see in there, that's zeolite. And zeolite is an ammonia remover. And I don't personally use this. I have this because it was given to me for free. And yeah, the carbon's the black stuff, the zeolite's the blue stuff, but that black stuff is what we're going to be talking about today. That's the activated carbon. And you can also get it in your hang-on back systems. They come with your cartridges, right? So this is a couple replacement cartridges, and it comes in these little silver packages in there. And basically what they are just little individually pre-measured packages of activated carbon. You can see on there it says carbon. And you just dump that into your little filter floss pad, right? You open that up, dump it in there, stick that in your hang-on back, and filter your water. So in your canister systems, it's going to be in a little baggie. I don't have any laying around, but they're in a little mesh bag that you just toss in one of the baskets. All good, said and done. So that's pretty much it for the introduction of this video. The next thing I want to talk about is what is activated carbon? Activated carbon is a form of carbon that's been heavily processed to have small, low-volume pores that increase the overall surface area of carbon, which helps it with absorption of anything that's in the aquarium. It will absorb it, right, to remove it. And adsorption, which is chemical bonding reactions. So if there's a chemical in the aquarium or something like that, it will adhere, right? It won't necessarily be absorbed, but it will chemically bond to the carbon so that it doesn't release it back into the aquarium. And 1 gram of carbon actually contains 32,000 square feet of surface area. So the surface area of carbon is absolutely enormous. And I pre-measured some to show you guys how much a gram actually is. So if you can see this, that is 1 gram of carbon, right? There's not a whole lot there, just a couple little pieces. That's 1 gram of carbon. And that has 32,000 square feet of surface area, which is enormous. That's like the average home is about 1,500 to 2,000 square feet. So you're looking at 16 houses worth of square feet right here. So that's absolutely enormous, right? And that's why it works so well to polish water and absorb contaminants out of the aquarium, because the surface area is absolutely enormous. So now that we've talked about that, I want to talk about the different viewpoints on carbon, that being the anti-carbon view and the pro-carbon view. So we'll go ahead and we'll start off with the anti-carbon view. The anti-carbon view is basically those of us who believe that carbon is an outdated product that originated in the old days of fish keeping, where the common belief was old water was better than new water, which is also why a lot of people believe that if you transfer water from an old aquarium to a new aquarium, it helps jumpstart a cycle, which that's not true either. But because of this, water changes were kept to an absolute minimum because carbon was removing a lot of the contaminants out of the water. And because all of the dissolved solids were left in the aquarium, a lot of aquariums would get a yellowish tint to them because of all of the waste buildup, right? And you wouldn't really get any odors out of the aquarium from like ammonia spikes and things like that because the activated carbon would take that out as well. So you wouldn't have a whole lot of what we call today like identifying factors that you see coming up in an aquarium to let you know that it's healthy because the carbon's removing a lot of that. This older style of thinking, however, now we know that frequent water changes are a lot better and a lot more essential to having a healthy aquarium because we're removing all of those contaminants naturally, right? So instead of just allowing the carbon to absorb it all and then constantly changing out carbon every 2 weeks, we just remove all those contaminants on our own with the use of a water change, which, in my opinion, costs less, right? And is a much easier form of being able to remove these. And now you're actually paying closer attention to the aquarium to make sure that your fish are healthier, right? And you're not having any of these issues. We're testing water more, and we're paying closer attention, making sure that we're providing a better life for our fish, right? And one thing that carbon does have in it is it does house a lot of phosphates, right? Which, if the phosphates get released back into the aquarium, it's going to cause a lot of algae blooms, right? And something that happens a lot is people will put carbon in their filter and then they forget about it, right? If you leave carbon in there too long, after it's done absorbing everything, once it gets to a certain point, it can potentially release contaminants back into the water, right? So not only will it just stop absorbing contaminants, but it could potentially release contaminants back into the water because it's reached its maximum threshold of holding all those contaminants. So that's pretty much the anti-carbon point of view, and now I want to talk about the pro-carbon point of view, right? And pro-carboners swear by carbon's usefulness, right? If you see somebody that's using carbon, they're going to be like, carbon is needed, you have to use it. And the reason they believe this is they still perform regular water changes, right? But feel that the carbon offers a certain polishing effect in your aquarium, which helps to clarify the water. And they claim that the odors still occur even with the water changes, right? So even though we're changing lots of water, you're still going to get a smell. And what they're talking about with that is in a nice, healthy aquarium, you're going to get an earthy smell. So your aquarium is going to smell the same way as if you went outside and stuck your nose in the dirt and smelled it. It's going to smell earthy. And that's a sign that you have a good biological system set up and everything's being processed the way it should and it smells natural, right? It smells like nature. And that's because everything's functioning properly. Now, something else is odors are a good way for us to determine if the aquarium's running properly. So if you go in and you smell your aquarium for whatever reason, I smell mine quite a bit, just so if I smell it and I smell ammonia, I need to start looking into this, right? So odors can be helpful, right, in certain circumstances so that we know our systems are functioning properly. So carbon will remove those odors, but now you don't know just by smell, right, which is a much easier way to identify an issue than, say, going and testing every single aquarium. You can smell it, and that's kind of an identifier for you to be able to know something's wrong, right? But the carbon will remove that, so you won't necessarily have that. Now, like I said, carbon only has a 2 to 4 week lifespan, depending on how much is being removed from the aquarium. And if you're going to use it and you want to religiously use it, it's going to have to be constantly replaced every 2 to 4 weeks for it to continue to be able to function properly. But the pro-carboners believe that that's okay, and they continue to do it. Now, one thing that pro-carboners and anti-carboners can all agree on is the usefulness of carbon during medication or contaminant removal, right? So basically, anytime you dose a medication in the aquarium, after it's run its full course, you throw some carbon in there, and the carbon will pull all of the excess medications out of the water column and make it a healthy environment for your fish again, so they're no longer being stressed by the medications that are being used. So even though medications are beneficial for our fish in the circumstances that we use them in, the medications do still cause a little bit of stress on our fish because it's not a natural product that's being used in the aquarium. So basically, by adding carbon to the aquarium, what you're doing is you're reducing the efficacy of the medications that are being put in there, right? Now, efficacy is the ability to provide a desired result. So if you're putting ick medication in there trying to remove ick, that is the efficacy of that medication. So by putting carbon in, you're reducing the efficacy and reducing its usefulness by removing it out of the water column. So that's how carbon works. That's also why a lot of medications instruct you on the packaging to remove carbon before dosing, because if you dose the medication while carbon is still in your filtration system, the medication is not going to work because that carbon is going to absorb it out of the water column. So after dosing a medication and letting the medication run its course, you may want to add carbon to your aquarium specifically for this reason, to remove all the medication out of the aquarium. Now, all that being said, I am an anti-carboner. I do not use carbon unless I have a known contaminant in the water, or am I removing a medication. That's the only time that I will use carbon. So I don't keep a whole lot of it in the fish room, but I do have a little bit stored here like I just showed you. So you can achieve crystal clear water also just by having extremely good biological filtration and a little bit of filter floss or a fine sponge filter or something like that. So I use this tank as an example all the time, but this 55-gallon right here with the red devil in it, you can see how clear that water is. It's crystal clear, and the only thing running in there is this sponge filter right here that he buried behind the sand there so we can't see it. But very good biological filtration will provide you a nice clean aquarium. So carbon as a source of chemical filtration is good in certain circumstances, but it's not always needed unless you want to. I don't use it. You guys might choose a different thing. So what do you guys think? Go ahead and let me know down in the comments down below, and let me know your opinions on carbon. But for now, that's it for this video. Thank you guys for watching Trapfish Aquatics, and I will see you guys in the next video.